It is 7 o'clock. Good evening. Call the meeting of the Richland County Board to order. I ask the Deputy Clerk to take the roll for us, please.
Carroll.
Here.
Miller. Here. Brewer.
Here.
McKee.
Here.
Oh, sorry. Kramer. Here. Al McKee.
Here.
Renish.
Here.
Hendricks. Here. Manning. Gill.
Here.
Glassburner. Here. Harwick. Here. Woodhouse.
Here.
Turk.
Here.
Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Severson.
Present.
Williamson.
Here.
Cooey.
Here.
Fleming. Here. Brookins. McGuire. You have 18 for a form, sir.
For our invocation tonight, I was pleased to meet, or if you just introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Frank Hoffman. I'm a retired pastor. I used to be a Methodist pastor in New York, and I volunteer my time right now with all-creatures.org, which is a worldwide ministry.
Thank you. If you all stand, please, for our invocation.
Father, we thank you for our evening, for our gathering together to do your work. And we ask you to touch the hearts and the souls of each of us that are here, that in your love and peace and compassion we make our decisions and our discussions. And we thank you again for your presence and your guidance. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are we in compliance with the open meetings law?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you. Item 6 is to approve our agenda. We have a 25-point agenda. As we go through tonight, I'd like to move items 17 through 22, the zoning pieces, up to right after public comment, so we can get those dealt with right off the bat. And if people are here just for that, they can then depart.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Renish, second by Frank. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Our agenda is approved. And you should have received the minutes of the June 18th County Board meeting distributed to you. Did anybody have questions, comments, corrections to the June 18th minutes? Hearing none, the chair will declare those minutes approved. Item number 8 is public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to address the board tonight?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to.
And members of the board are members of the public and can do too. I just want to make sure we get members of the public first and then we'll get to you. Any members of the public? All right, Supervisor McKee.
Yeah, given the information that's available now, this investigation was, the Pine Valley investigation was biased, to say the least. It was based on false information, and it was, in my opinion, not very professional. And I think that the 4 employees that left, true, they were fired, but they were forced out. And I know that for a fact. I think at the very least, we owe them a public apology for what transpired here, because it turned out not to be Pine Valley staff that was the problem. It turned out to be Shapandra that was the problem. And all of this stuff, it degrades them, and it affects them personally. They were basically unable to do their job because of this. And like I said, I think the board owes them an apology for allowing this to take place. And I think this administration owes these people an apology. My only concern is that I'm pretty sure that the people responsible for this fiasco won't be held accountable, except one, and the sheriff's department's holding that person accountable. And that's all I have to say. I disregard this report.
Okay. Sir, thank you for sharing your opinion. Is anybody else under public comment? Supervisor Miller, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, I want to delve into that a little bit deeper, and I want you to know, I know Candace, you know, I'm not throwing things at anybody in particular, but it's out there, it's never going to go away if we don't do something. And I'm going to read some of the things that I found out. I ask you, if you were a professional in healthcare and if someone comes in who knows little about the place and decides to tell you they do not want to listen or absorb, rather have their own ideas about how it should be run. This is what the employees endured for several months. It was a kidnapping, a nurse stated. She stated, I felt attacked and abused daily. This event was as public as you can get. Professional nurses who endured scrutiny on a daily basis. PTSD type anxiety in their heads, never knowing what was to be next. This scenario went on in the lives of our professionals out there. In the authority, at the time, authority had not come to their aid. They had gotten nothing but silence from the administration and us, the local board. We're responsible. This will be a stain on Pine Valley well into its future, not only when hiring the public. You never know how much hiring the public, but also you never know how much we need this healthcare offering until it hits our home and family. I found red flags in the report that Mr. Wendell offered. I don't think it was his fault, but examples of verbalizing of unwillingness to change. Tom Rislow and Dr. Smith addressed many changes in their letters sent to each of us. And if you did not get a letter, I'm sorry. I was to send it to everyone, and I might have missed someone. We need to settle this. I would like to see an investigation of Pine Valley again, a third time, and I feel it should be done by a consultant who works strictly with nursing
Your time is up,
homes.
Supervisor Miller. Thank you for sharing your opinion with us. Any other members of the public that wish to address the board?
I would just like to
Supervisor
say
Hennings.
that I too feel that Pine Valley employees deserve some type of explanation for where we made error. And I also want to say that I'm in support of these last 2 people speaking out on that situation. And I hope we can move forward and do better. And there's more to come with this whole situation. But I do sincerely hope we all realize that there was mistakes made from people that worked for our county for greater than 30 years that deserved better from us and they did not give that. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your opinion with us. Any other members of the public that wish to address the board? Just as a reminder, these things are not on the agenda. The board will not be discussing them tonight. This was purely public comment. So if we have no further public comment, we will move on to reports. Item 9, starting with our administrator's report. I'm sorry, I was making the move to the zoning stuff. I'm sorry. Let's move down to item 17 on our agenda is a resolution to, or 18, pardon me, is a resolution approving the town of Ithaca's rezoning of a parcel belonging to Harvey Schmucker. Item number 18.
All right, this would be Resolution 24-55. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors in accordance with Wisconsin statute section 60.623 that approval is hereby granted for the rezoning of the following described 5.56 acre parcel from the agricultural zoning district to the agricultural residential zoning district in accordance with the Town of Ithaca zoning ordinance as noted below. I presume you do not want me to read that entire.
I do
that's
not want
your-
you to read that.
I want to hear you.
Be it, as stated below, and then be it further resolved that the zoning administrator shall send a copy of this resolution to the known clerk of the Town of Ithaca, and be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Natural Resources Standing Committee on 1 July of 2024.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Supervisor Renish to approve this resolution, second by Supervisor Cosgrove. Any background discussion on this?
Well, first of all, this is Katrina Saluski, she's our new zoning person. I'd like to introduce you to everybody here.
Welcome.
And those, I think most of you know me, I'm Kathy Cooper. This is Ithaca Township. Basically, they have their own zoning, and it's just kind of a pass-through. So Ithaca Township approved it, and the committee approved it, but it's just a pass-through saying yes or no. But we can't really deny it, so.
So yes.
Yeah, so yes.
Does anybody have questions? Not all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. Thank you. Moving on to item number 19. This is an ordinance relating to a parcel belonging to Robert and Denise Sabronic in the town of Buena Vista.
This would be zoning ordinance number 24-10, amendment number 600 to the Richland County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance number 5 relating to a parcel belonging to Robert and Denise Sabronic in the town of Buena Vista. I presume you do not want me to read the entire ordinance
You are correct.
Sir. This ordinance shall be effective on July 16 of 2024. This ordinance was offered by the Natural Resources Standing Committee on 1 July of 2024.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Supervisor Cooey, second by Supervisor Fleming, and discussion on this one.
Rob and Denise Sabronic are looking at selling the house and 6.5 acres on land in Buena Vista Township, selling and rezoning it to ag residential, and they're keeping the rest of the land for cropland as ag forestry for themselves.
Any questions on this ordinance? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 20, ordinance relating to a parcel belonging to Bailey Berry in the town of Dayton.
This would be ordinance number 24-11, amendment number 601 to the Richland County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance number 5 relating to a parcel belonging to Bailey Berry in the town of Dayton as before you. This ordinance would be effective July 7, 2023. This ordinance was offered by the Land and Zoning Standing Committee on 7 August of 2023.
We have a motion. Motion from Supervisor Severson, second from Supervisor Fleming, and discussion.
There needs to be an amendment,
Okay.
and I'll have to for it. We're gonna pass them out. It's basically, it hasn't been sold yet. It's still owned by Matt Odison.
Okay.
This one was approved back last year in August, and for some reason it was never brought to county board, so we're bringing it to the county board now
Okay.
to kind of fix the situation. So this will have to be amended.
Okay, so is the only amendment needed the name of the property owner? As this is being distributed, do we have someone willing to make that motion to amend? Motion by Severson, second by Cooey, to amend the name of the property owner as per the revised information we're getting distributed to us here. So this will be revised, the name of the property owner to Matt Odison, correct? Okay. All in favor of the amendment? Yeah, all in favor of that amendment to this ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
All any opposed? All right, now discussion on the ordinance as amended. Go ahead, Mr.
Question, do you know what the development plan is? Because 2.76 acres is not a lot. going to be commercial or an excavating business?
Is there any restrictions on total parking area? I'm coming at from the septic side, which I always come from that side.
Yep.
Because I believe our ordinance doesn't allow multiple houses on 2 acres. And I'm just envisioning a commercial building that has an 1.5 acre parking lot and no replacement septic area. Is there any, my question is, do we have any restrictions beforehand?
Matt's online.
That's online.
That's online.
Go ahead, Matt.
It's basically, it's gonna be, he wants to put a storage shed up for his excavation equipment, and there may be a convenience bathroom there, and that's all. There used to be a building on there, they're gonna tear that down and set that, his shop or storage area back further too. So it's gonna be further away from the road than what the existing building that was there was.
Thank you. Does that address your question?
Not really, but I'm just looking down the road, what's going to happen, because I know how things evolve. Where businesses grow, now all of a sudden, we've got no place for replacement septic.
Supervisor Glassborough.
Yeah, mine's just on the wording. I'm just wondering about these dates, if they're all accurate. So it says it shall be effective. Is it backdating then to August 7, 2023? Because it says this ordinance shall be
This
effective on August.
must be the date it was originally drafted with.
Yep.
That's,
So I'm wondering if we need to change that or if we're saying that it's,
If it wasn't effective then, nothing's going to be hurt if we amend it to make it effective upon its passage of publication.
Okay. So we have somebody willing to amend it to say effective upon passage and publication. Supervisor Glassborough makes that amendment. Do we have a second? Second from Supervisor Gill. Further discussion on amending the date? If not, all those in favor of amending the date say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, continuing discussion on the ordinance as amended. Any further questions?
What was the discussion back in August of last year where there was a supervisor that voted no? You know what that stemmed from?
Somebody who was on the committee back then, remember? Supervisor Carroll, go ahead.
I'm reaching here, but as I recall, I think Linda was worried about site obstruction of the road. And if they're tearing this building down, I think that's probably not a problem, but that's what I recall. Thanks.
It says in here that Melissa drove the area and looked at it and said it was fine. In her opinion, anyway.
Any other questions? Further discussion? All right, so all in favor of the ordinance as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Item 21, report on petitions for zoning amendments received since the last county board session.
I wasn't at the office, so.
I wasn't ready for that part, but from what I remember, I believe we have 2, a Ray Schmitz rezone and Greg Nedland. So
Okay.
those will be at the
Natural
next.
Resources
Yep.
Committee next time. Okay,
Yep.
very good. Any rezoning petitions recommended for denial by the zoning or the Natural Resources Committee?
No.
No. All right. Thank you very much. We'll go back on our agenda to where we left off with item 9, which is reports, and starting with the administrator.
Okay, so we are in the middle of budget season, as you all know. All departments, with the exception of a couple that have asked for extensions due to vacations, have their budgets in. They are working on getting those entered, and we will then begin having meetings next week. So that's good. We're excited to see where the numbers come out and how we're looking. No final shared revenue numbers as of yet. Working through PAQs still, all 460 some of them. So getting those uploaded and off to the consultant. Thank you to Mike Hardy, who discovered that We had signed a grant back in 1981 with the help of the UW system to build the tennis courts and basketball court adjacent to Simon's. And therefore, that has some fairly steep stipulations for the rest of its days. And so we are having a meeting with the DNR tomorrow to see what that means and what those implications are, because we have not kept up with it appropriately. It has not been appropriately signed. It has not been appropriately inspected. So there will be some work to do along that front, and it may impact some of our decision-making at the Campus Reconfiguration Committee level and going forward.
This grant was for in perpetuity? I guess forever?
Yes.
Pretty much.
A lot of those grants like that for, I know our county parks, when we applied for some of them, they have those stipulations too, that you must keep it for public use.
And if you want to
And you have to give
relocate,
the money back. And that's the same thing when we were arguing about the bike trail a few years back. That's what we would have.
well, and it sounds like it's not even give the money back. It's what it would take to create the same footprint, the same exact thing in today's dollars. And you would then have to relocate it to another space within the county in today's dollars. So the original $12,000 that they gave us back then with the $12,000 match, that wouldn't cut it. It would have to be in today's dollars. So again, we're gonna have a meeting tomorrow, get some clarification, understand all of those things, and then we'll report back to the Campus Reconfiguration Committee on what those stipulations are, what that looks like, and what that means for us going forward, because it really could impact our decision-making going forward, and it's really important to know, and thank goodness he found it. Because that could have been bad had we made certain decisions.
Can we go back and say, okay, this is not our doing, Platteville broke the lease, it's no longer a public facility? I mean,
We're going to ask the question. That is on the radar, but I'm going to dig out the resolution from 1981 because it's a little bit of a toss-up here, because the documents themselves were indeed signed by Platteville, the dean, and the business manager for Platteville, but there is also an accompanying resolution by the county board, signed by the county board chair. Therefore, it's somewhere in between, and I don't know that that is going to really...
to me, that just reaffirms that it was a campus-related thing, and the campus is no longer there.
But it also says UW, Richland, Richland County throughout. So again...
50% of that partnership is gone.
We need to explore the legal opinion.
Come on, Mike. Work with me here.
So the governing statute is from 1964, 65. In black and white terms, we don't have a lot of flexibility, but that's why we're.
It's kind of like the lease we had with the campus, with UW Platteville.
No, it's pretty close.
Pretty simple.
Yes, Mr.
This is still a public thing, it's just owned by the county now.
Right. As of right now, it's not public access.
Right, and it hasn't been maintained as it was, it hasn't been signed appropriately, so we are hoping we can find some flexibility there in what that public purpose is for it, but we'll see.
Right. I mean, it just, we need to know our parameters going forward, and we need to understand what those are, making sure that we're then doing things appropriately going forward, understanding what that means, all of those things. And I do think then we need to take that into account as we make decisions then going forward as well. Once Venture gives us our report, and there's a lot going on right now with those areas. So I think it's important that we understand what's going on with that area as well. So there is that piece that's going on, and that's new information, so I wanted to make sure to share all that with all of you, just because it is brand spanking new. Just found out on Friday afternoon.
Supervisor Carroll.
So I assume this new twist, you guys are gonna let Venture know as soon as possible, so they are aware of it.
Absolutely, once we know, although I don't think it will alter their plan, because they're not evaluating the Simons area at all. They're evaluating the campus buildings, not Simons Recreation Complex, but the location is in proximity, and then the gym area is still in question. So again, I mean, it may impact decision making, and so we will let them know. So again, no word on the final report yet. It should be coming in the next week, I anticipate. So fingers crossed that we'll have some information. And as soon as we do, we will let everyone know. I do understand that many of you are having issues with your tech and you're not getting emails and notifications. If that is the case, please let Barb know. I keep hearing rumblings that people are not getting their communications, and if you're not getting communications or you feel like you're not getting communications, unless you tell me or you tell Barb, we don't know that. Because these iPads are touchy and some of them sync, and if you're not on Wi-Fi at home and whatever else, and I'm not a tech person, so I'm not gonna know that. So please tell Barb. If you feel like you're not getting messages or things aren't working, please get a hold of Barb, because she's the one that can tell, she's the one that can help you.
I have a question
Mr. McKee, yes.
in that regards. I'm on the fair board. Have they been meeting, or, because I haven't been getting notices for the fair board.
They've met, what, twice?
Once.
Once.
Yeah, see, I haven't been getting the notices.
You should have gotten them. Everyone else got
And I
them.
did.
So, maybe Barb can check on that.
I'll check if he's in that group for some reason.
Okay.
Everybody should be.
But again, so, you know, look at your committee assignments. If you don't think you're getting emails, let Barb know. There are groups that are made for all of those things, and those calendar invites go out, so let us know that, okay? Let's see, what else are we doing? Budget. Well, a lot of moving parts right now. The treasurer ad is out. It is in the shopper, or in the shopping news, it is in the paper, it is on the website, and we are considering putting it on WRCO as well. So hopefully we'll get some good applicants for that. We are very, very close to being completely off of contract nursing out at Pine Valley. So that is really, really exciting, because some months that's a $60,000 to $70,000 expense. So recruitment is going extremely well out there. And we have a lot of college students going back to school, and we almost have all of those slots filled as well. So really exciting news there. So things are going extremely well out there, and staffing is outstanding. So with that, that's all I have for now. I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on and a lot of moving parts, but I'll spare you all those details.
If anybody would like to see the keys to the campus, they're in a jug, and Candace is on the Platinum literally handed over a jug with
It's a
bunch of
big
keys in
picture.
it. Yeah.
And also Josh and I did find the other box last week. Was it you, Josh, or was it Randy? It was Randy. I've been out there so many times with different things. And yeah, there's a box probably like this on the wall, and it is full of keys to Lord only knows what. So we locked that up, and we locked up that door to make sure all of that was secure. So there are rumblings that there are still people with keys floating around out there. And so after a fashion, we will probably be chaining all of the doors just to secure them, but the foundation and the Alumni Association still are removing some of their last items that they had permission to move. They are working with me, they are notifying me when they are out there, they are notifying me of what they are removing, and they've been wonderful. So there are just those few last items that they are removing. So I know there are people saying, oh, there's people from the public taking things. No, there aren't. It's things that they have had permission to take that belong to either the Alumni Association or the UW Foundation that they are moving to the Smart Farm at this point. So that's really what's happening, and we did put something on the website to clarify that, because the rumor mill is alive and well. And yeah, people think I don't know what they think we're doing, but we're not doing anything.
We don't have an inventory yet of all the stuff Platteville left behind. The county has been able to utilize some tables that were there, but that's all we've really done so far with the county even.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've heard people say, well, why, they're selling stuff. No, there's nothing happening with that yet. First, we gotta get a handle on what all's there. And then, as Candace has said in the past, come up with a process that gives everybody a fair shot at getting things that they want, so. Mr. McKee?
I have a question on the treasurer. That's an elected position, correct? So this new treasurer will be filling out this term and will be able to run.
That is correct.
So, man,
Please do.
so Jeffrey, it's too late in the game for Jeffrey to be removed from the ballot at this time. So he will be on the ballot. But whoever is appointed in the interim then will be able to run as a registered write-in. And there's a very specific kind of a formula of votes that this person would need to attain. And if Jeffrey still is the winning vote getter, then this person would then be able to take on the role. And Derek can explain it very precisely when he is back. That is my layperson explanation of how it would work. But yes, then that person would then be a registered write-in candidate.
Yes, Ms. Miller, go ahead.
I was wondering, anything about what the survey of the campus? Do you have any idea what we can be done with that? We know everything, what it's going to cost the campus
Building and grounds assessment.
zoning.
Oh, the venture, we had that cost was all in. So that RFP process was approved prior to.
No, I mean, like, what it costs, what they're gonna have the cost of all these things, the county. You had the courthouse done, you had the campus done, and you had.
That cost was all in the RFP.
Are you talking about the cost for the assessment or for?
The actual assessment.
No,
going
what
forward.
they can't, what they
Going forward.
are telling
Going
us.
forward, yeah, we won't, that'll be part of the recommendations they make. They may have some cost estimates on some of the things they recommend. Otherwise, if we have specific ideas of specific things we want to do, we'd have to commission an RFP to figure out how much it would cost. What they're gonna tell us is these are the conditions of the facilities, these are potential uses. Again, they may have some ballpark estimates for us, but they would just be that at this point, right?
Correct. If
So
we were,
next year.
if we were to decide, you know, that we wanted to go with their ideas, but honestly, I think it would be short-sighted of us to just say, oh, yep, we like their ideas, let's do it. I think that based on the information that they give us, it would be wise of us to then go out for bid for other firms and say, okay, we know now this is what we have for buildings, or this is what is viable, you know.
That's what I'm.
We should be getting their recommendations hopefully in the next week.
Yes.
Hopefully not too much longer than that.
No.
And then once we get that information, we'll review it as county board
Yep.
and make our determinations about what we feel the best path forward is.
Will we be sent that in our emails so that we can?
I'm not sure. Initially, where is it gonna go to the?
Reconfiguration committee.
Yeah, the configuration committee first, and then it would come to the full board because we'll share it with everybody, we'll post it for the public too, so.
So that we have a time to look at it.
Yeah, we would definitely want people to have time to look at it before we discuss it, so. It's not something we're gonna be able to make a snap decision on, obviously. We'll need a lot of consideration, so. And, you know, whatever we decide, you know, we have, you know, thankfully they released the 2 million that we can apply for once they tell us again how to apply for it.
Yep, the 20.
Will that be enough to address needs? I mean, no, not even close, so.
So it sounds like that $2 million is on the way.
It's approved for relief, go ahead, yes.
So Senator Ballweg called me last week, as did Tony Kurtz, and so it was approved to be released. So the Economic Development Agency is taking the application, the final application, in front of their committee on the 23rd to be approved. And once they approve it, then they will release it and we will be able to apply for it. The interesting piece is nobody really knows what is going to be in their application, and there's a little bit of concern that they will add stipulations into it, which the legislation did not intend.
Right.
So we're all kind of waiting to see and trying to find out what they're doing. But so far, they're being pretty tight-lipped and we don't have a lot of indicators.
Maybe like a tennis court.
Yeah. So the money's been quote-unquote released, but
By the legislature.
by the legislature, but it's in the hands of Wisconsin Economic Development, WEDC. We would need to apply to them to actually get it into our possession.
And if you'll recall, the governor had actually stricken a lot of the language that put, you had to have so many letters from the community, and you had to do this, and he struck a lot of that from it, just basically so that we could just apply and get it. And so it could get into our hands so we could utilize it.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Mark Klein at the Aging and Disability meeting up at Dodgeville, and he kind of beat around the bush and didn't give me a straight answer at that time.
That's why.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Candace? Thank you. Next to report out Richland County Ambulance Service update. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to
Good evening,
introduce
everybody.
Yep.
I want to give you a brief overview of who we are as Richland County EMS, what we do, and a little bit about me, seeing how I am the new department head here. So it's almost like I planned that out. Go to the second page. Thanks, Mark. So first up is why we do what we do. The mission statement of the Richland County Ambulance Service provide efficient, high-quality emergency medical care and safe transportation to medical facility for our residents and people that visit our community. This is what drives the ship. This is why we do what we do, and this is why our main focus every day. So you might also be asking yourself, who's the new guy? That's me. My name is Mike Jessen. I've got about 13 years of fire and EMS experience total. I'm currently licensed as a critical care paramedic. Also, in kind of creating this presentation, I realized that I don't have any good headshots. Somebody knows any good photographers, I'm open to recommendations. So next up is what I value. This is me, this is who I am, and this is how I run the service. So number one is accountability. And I believe accountability is to self, which is number one, what am I doing behind closed doors, and am I going to be willing to be accountable to that? Accountability is the origin. We don't need to be proud of where we come from, but we do need to be proud of the fact that we are who we are today because of where we come from. We need to be accountable to our team. When we come into our organization, we come into work for the morning, get ready for our shift. We're accountable to each other. Next is our organization. With that being who we work for, and last, our community. Again, at the end of the day, that's our boss. I value transparency. I think not only as myself to my team of folks, I think transparency to the community in which we serve is also paramount. I value honesty, even when the truth is hard. Sometimes we don't want to say the truth, we don't want to hear the truth, but sometimes we have to get through it together. I also value shared services. I think working together to make sure that every dollar of tax money is being used to its fullest extent while providing a better level of service every day is profoundly important. I do believe leadership is a privilege, and I have shared with my folks what I expect of them, and it's those 4 bullet points there. I do want kind, compassionate problem solvers showing up on your worst day or your family member's worst day, ready to help you solve your problem that you couldn't do on your own. So personnel-wise, how we're structured, Richland County Ambulance is known as a combination agency. So we have a combination of full-time staff, part-time staff, and 6 in-call positions. I do have a typo in here, and I apologize. We have 8 funded part-time positions currently, not 10, so I apologize for that error there. But again, it's 1 full-time director, a full-time administrative secretary, and those positions we already spoke with. 2 of the part-time positions fulfill our QA, which is quality assurance and quality improvement needs. Those are requirements from the State Department of Health Services EMS office, and that's to make sure that we're documenting things correctly, our reports look good, and we're using every opportunity for every call experience to do better tomorrow than we were today. So structure of Richland County. So we were established in 1972. Currently, the Richland County Board is what provides us the authority to operate. We do have a Joint Ambulance Committee, which was established in 2015. The Joint Ambulance Committee is established a group of representatives from each one of the townships, municipalities, and one city that we do serve. I think it's a very valuable resource to have because every time we get together, it's the voice of the people in which we serve that's being heard at a much smaller level versus a global single report type situation. Richland County Ambulance receives no tax dollars or funding from the county board for our operations. All funding comes from our municipal contract payments, so each municipality pays a fee based on a rolling average of number of calls per year that we respond to in that municipality. We also receive transport reimbursements. So when we pick somebody up, respond to their house, pick them up, take them to the hospital, we bill either Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance for that transport. Typically, they're thought as fees for service. We don't see high reimbursement rates on those. About 70% of our payership within Richland County is Medicare and Medicaid. And a lot of private insurance companies now are adopting, number one, the reimbursement rates that Medicare and Medicaid have. On average, probably about 10, 15 cents on the dollar. And some private insurances are now saying that 911 is out of network cost. Therefore, it would actually apply to the big deductible and out-of-pocket cost. And it's hard to receive those funds from folks. And to know that people have to question whether or not to call 911 based on the financial limitations is a difficult thing to navigate. So continuing with our structure, so currently all 20 plus staff members in the EMS department directly report to the service director. I have no mid-level leadership between myself and my 20 staff. This does lead to issues with span of control and continuity of the service. It is difficult to establish strategic planning, to sit down and write budgets, maybe manage personnel issues, do coaching, growing, learning with people that need that, but also do the big picture stuff all at the same time. There is going to be a restructuring plan that I've been working on. Prior to being hired here, I kind of was looking at things from the outside, reading agendas and minutes, looking at our business plan, understanding what our structure was and what it might need to look like to be sustainable moving forward. So next week, the Joint Ambulance Committee on the 23rd, everybody is certainly welcome to come here. We'll be proposing our restructuring plan for 2025. The little graphic there in the right corner is our current chain of command. So this is myself there. I got an administrative secretary and QA, QI, which are there just kind of right off of the same direct report to myself, full-time staff, casual, and volunteer. There's one part I did have to remove out of there for space reasons, that's a training officer, who's also a direct report to the director. So budget overview. So our revenues do come from service reimbursements, contract payments, grants, and donations. So we're currently working with Wisconsin State Office of Rural Health. It's a free service that they provide to establish what sustainability, especially financially and people, looks like moving forward. The cost of people and stuff, it's no secret, has grown exponentially, yet revenues have not kept pace. So again, 70% Medicare and Medicaid payership within the service area. We're already one of the lowest paying EMS departments in the state. I'm not exactly proud of that. I know we have the wage study. I'm looking forward to see what we can do with that. But the financial piece has always harmed recruitment. We actually just had an open hiring process that opened for 3 weeks. We had a total of 2 applications, and that's what we're moving forward with in the hiring process, and one of them says they're not interested in the money. So not only that piece for recruitment, but retention is, our people are starting to have a hard time putting food on the table for their families.
Just so that you all know, it's less than $17 an hour. That's what the rate is. So this was our poster child for the wage study when I spoke with Tessa and when I questioned Carlson Dedman. These people are saving lives every day, and we're paying them less than $17 an hour.
And I would love nothing more to stand here and tell you guys all amazing thing and all these amazing accomplishments we've hit over the last few weeks and the month and a half I've been here. I'm also going to be honest with you. We are having some serious concerns with keeping staff because of the fact that when people have to consider taking out loans to make their mortgage, you kind of feel crappy. Next slide, please. So our response data. So last year we responded over 1,200 calls for service. Some of these calls are interfacility transfers. When we do have 2 ambulances staff, we are able to contact the local hospitals and let them know we are available to transport our local community members in a critical access hospital to the definitive care if needed. We are able to generate some revenues from that, but again, it's not the answer. So as the community ages and relies on EMS grows, we did not anticipate seeing a reduction in call volume. On average, we're anticipating about a 15 to 20% increase in call volume annually. So last week alone, we responded to 32 calls for service. 19 of those calls occurred in a 48-hour period. It was myself and 3 others were just ended up kind of being on 48 together, and it was nonstop. We pulled through, and we actually were able to respond to every single 911 call in that 40-hour period. So I'm very, very grateful we were able to do that. We are also experiencing higher instances for simultaneous calls of service, thus solidifying the needs of staff of ambulances. It is Again, it happened, I think, a total of 8 times last week that we would be dispatched to a call, and within 5 minutes, we were dispatched to a second call. Volunteerism in the United States is not what it used to be, and it's not anywhere at a point where we expect it to grow. We can't expect people to be leaving home, to be leaving family time, to respond to an EMS call, which is going to take at least 2 hours of your time at minimum, plus the continuing education requirements, plus the initial education requirements. It's a huge task, especially the mental and emotional strain that you experience. It's a big ask of somebody for $20 a call. So our current average shoot time, so this is from the time our pager goes off to the time that we are out the door and on the road, is 3.2 minutes. I'm not proud of this. This is an area in which we need to improve, and we will improve. It is my goal to have that average below 90 seconds by January of 2025. And I anticipate January of 2025, I'm anticipating being on the agenda to let you guys know how we did, because I want to be held to that standard. So vision and goals moving forward. So my number one priority all the way across the board is to ensure 24/7 staffing in the primary ambulance, but also to include the backup. We are in a position, we do have some times in which we have some open spots on primary. Last weekend, for instance, this is not a self-inflation piece, but I worked a 48-hour shift Saturday and Sunday, or Sunday to Monday this previous week to cover the primary ambulance. I'll be back here working again Saturday to ensure primary coverage. It's not that I enjoy doing it. I got into fire and EMS because I enjoy being a public servant and being on the road, but it's not sustainable. I want to assure that the financial and operational sustainability of the service is not just an ambulance getting out the door tomorrow. Right now, my broad view is 2 to 5 years. I would love to focus on that 10, 15, 20-year mark to make sure that people's kids that are in this room right now, maybe even grandkids, have an ambulance available to them when they need it. But right now, the main focus is that 2 to 5 year mark. Hoping to increase full-time line staff from 4 to 6. What this will do is we would have 2 full-timers assigned to primary every single day, and we'd be staffing our backup crew with those casual call-in folks, those paid-on-call folks, and those part-time folks. Not that our part-time and casual folks are not reliable, but when you are somebody's full-time employment, it's sometimes a little bit easier to make sure that people are on schedule. Also, next year, so we talked about the span of control issues that we have and lack of mid-level supervision within the service. It's my anticipation to add 2 full-time battalion chief positions next year for operational continuity. And we can, as that presentation goes to Joint Ambulance Committee next week, I look forward to going to executive finance the following month and clarifying what this looks like and the roles and responsibilities those 2 positions would take. But just kind of a broad kind of perspective is myself in those positions would be on a 48-96 rotating schedule, so that would guarantee there's that extra 3rd person here just in case. But again, too, when we go to, after JAC and go to executive finance, we'll be able to clarify that a lot better. Also, I'd like to develop a strategic plan for emergency services in Richland County. Believe it or not, people are not knocking down the door to become firefighters and EMTs anymore. I can speak to Richland Center Fire Department. They are in a phenomenal shape as it comes to recruitment and retention. We don't have that problem. I really wish we did. I'm quite envious. And a lot of younger people growing up, they're moving out, they're doing big things. A lot of people are not interested in working a career in public safety for however much, not so much money a year, getting all the other ancillary stuff. You can be a lot more successful working a quick trip or Shriver and have a lot less responsibility. So we need to figure out how to maintain emergency services all the way around Richland County for years to come. Last slide, please. So moving forward, so in order to remain fully accountable, I encourage feedback from those we serve and their elected representatives respectively. You are all the voice of the people that put you in these seats, and I respect that. If it's their voice that needs to be heard, or your voice in lieu of theirs, or yours alone, I want to hear what your concerns are. If there's a win that we need to celebrate or a miss that we need to improve on, I can't fix it, I can't address it, I can't explain it if I don't know about it. It's really easy to talk about bad stuff because rumor mills are fun. Who doesn't enjoy a good rumor to pass it along? But unless it's brought to the person in which can actually solve the problem, I want to know about it. So I do have an open door policy. Open phone is kind of how I joke on that because the office so much, but it's not in place because it sounds good or it's a buzzword. I want people to stop by. I want to hear from our community. I I want to hear from our representatives. I also encourage anybody in this room and anybody listening, if you want to learn more about our service and a more day-to-day operational level, you're always welcome to stop on by and set up a ride-along. Come see what we're all about, what we do, and how awesome it is. So, any questions on the service update? Yes?
Yeah, you say you got 1,200 calls last year. Is that a big increase over previous years, or is it low now?
Yep, so it is an increase from last year. We did have a dip last year, and the dip last year was due to staffing abilities, a lower reliance on interfacility transfers due to availability, but also the ebbs and flows after and post-COVID. It used to be you could really kind of march out your response metrics for about 5 years and be pretty close. Post-COVID, it has been very, very difficult to predict where call volumes are going to head. Again, really normal kind of sense of way to do it is 15% a year. I'm interested to see what we're doing this year. I think we're about 20 ahead here to date. But again, we could have another 48-hour period of just getting dumped on calls. We can go a day without one. It's really hard to predict. Yep. Yes, sir.
Mr. McGuire.
At what level of authority is that terrible amount of $17 an hour come from, and what can we do about it? I mean, these people have life-saving skills for $17 an hour. That does not work. It doesn't balance.
It is a privilege to stand here and be their voice, and I'm grateful that it's been heard.
I have tinnitus, so I have to. Can you usually
I said
do
it
your voice?
is a privilege to stand here and be the voice of my people, and I'm grateful that it's been being heard. Thank you. I share the same sentiment. We are doing the wage study, which is kind of the first step in that piece. As it stands right now, our wage scale is set by the county. We are on the county wage scale. All of our salary funds come from Fund 51, which is the ambulance fund. The ambulance fund does not receive any dollars from the general fund.
Well, I guess the other half of my question is, what can we do about it?
Well, that's what we're working on.
Okay.
That's because when I saw that number, my hair started on fire. And so when I had that call with Carlson Detman, that was the question I asked, and that was the turning point for me. Because they couldn't tell me how they got to that wage. And they couldn't tell me what they compared them to come up with that number.
Right now, I've got full-time EMTs making $15.65 an hour.
So if we're having trouble recruiting, that it could bring right down to that little tiny number of 1 in 7, right?
Well, I'm pretty sure it does, absolutely.
In total, since I started May 28th, I have had 4 applicants that I have begun phone or in-person interviews with that once understanding what the compensation was, they said, no, thank you, I will go elsewhere. And I don't have a reason to ask them to turn around and say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what wages are in the counties around us?
I do. I don't have those numbers compiled on my computer, so I don't want to misspeak. But I could present those to Jason.
Just an estimate. I mean, do you have an estimate of how much more they're paying than
So I can tell you.
Julie,
Barb knows.
I work for Dell's Dalton EMS. I also work for Richland EMS, full disclosure. At Dell's Dalton EMS, I make $24 an hour. And I'm in the same position there as here, same license.
And this has not been about me thing, so please don't take it as such. But my current hourly rate that I get as department head for this service, as a critical care paramedic, I can go work for a private ambulance service and make $1 more an hour as a paramedic with no other ancillary responsibilities.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mike, for the presentation. Now, do you literally switch hats when we shift to the different topic, or is that
I
just
can
a
turn
figure
around,
of speech?
right?
Well, so yeah, turn your hat around, and we've got another topic that you're
I try to make
going to
everything say emergency services, it just
Yep.
works. All right, so I'm sorry I don't have a compiled emergency management report for everybody. Just some bullet points. It has been an invigorating and busy few weeks since I've begun, not only with EMS, but also with emergency management. As you may or may not have noticed, the weather this year has been a little different than normal and has kept the wheels turning for sure. So some quick little updates I want to say on the storm response, but in the past 6 storm responses we've had since May 28th. We have been notifying the public via push notifications through Nixle. We've been utilizing Facebook for those, and we've also been utilizing some press releases as well. Last week, we worked awesome with HHS. Friday, I realized that we were going to be seeing heat indices the following Sunday and yesterday of over 100 degrees. We were able to get cooling shelters activated throughout the county, as well as press releases going on those. So grateful for HHS's assistance in getting that done. Myself and John Heinen, who is our emergency management contracted coordinator, he doesn't have a true official title. He and I have been basically on strategic weather monitoring mode pretty well consistently, either from home or from the Emergency Operations Center. We have had 3 Emergency Operations Center activations through some of these storm response pieces. All storm response stuff has been able to be kept at the local level. We have no substantial loss to property or life that has been reported to the Emergency Management Office, which is great. I know there has been some localized flooding in some places, some basement floodings. Fortunately, there's not a lot of individual assistance. There's no individual assistance available from the state for those things. FEMA, you're only getting individual assistance if there's a state disaster declaration. We didn't hit the money mark for that, but because we were able to be out and about, those folks that were calling and having those issues, we were able to meet them in their driveway and shake their hand and not just be on the phone and say, hey, we can't help, but to say, I wish there was more we can do. Maybe we can write something into a mitigation plan. We can work with your town chairman, with your town board, see if we can find some resources for you. And I know that's been reassuring to some. We're working really well with Josh over here. Josh, thank you for your assistance in answering the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning consistently. Great coordination between Sheriff's Office, dispatch, and everything else there. So again, been here a month and a half. I've heard grumblings in the past that the departments didn't always necessarily get along super well. I haven't seen that. Everybody has stepped up to the plate, done an amazing job, has been a team player. I just want to say thank you. We work diligently with our Aries Races folks, that's our amateur radio storm spotting individuals. They've gone out for us a few times to help us monitor some river levels as well as some severe storm cells. We've been coordinating with Wisconsin Emergency Management through the EOC, kind of back and forth there, and responded to a lot of calls. Questions, comments, concerns on the emergency management? Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, continuing with our agenda. Item number 10, a resolution approving the Sheriff's Office to enter into an agreement with Pine Counseling to provide mental health services to inmates.
This would be resolution number 24-47. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors, by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, that approval is hereby granted for the county to enter into an agreement with Pine Counseling for an hourly rate of $110. Be it further resolved that Sheriff Clay Porter is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county an agreement in accordance with this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Public Safety Standing Committee on 5 July of 2024.
Resolution, do we have a motion? Motion by Supervisor Frank, second by Cosgrove. Sheriff Porter.
All right, so this is actually more a contingency plan than anything, but it's a contingency plan that we need to utilize right now. So we are required under DOC 350 to provide mental health services to our inmate population. Typically, our primary provider for that is HHS. But we have been having some difficulty with getting mental health people into the jail that way. So this is giving us an option, so we remain in compliance with DOC 350, and we're still providing that service to our inmates.
So it's a contract that's utilized on an as-needed basis?
Yep, strictly as needed, and hopefully we can't control that, so we'll use it when we need it.
Was that typically from HHS because of staff shortages and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Mr. Frank.
We decided to bring this to the county board. One, it is a contract, and two, we did not know what the total annual bill was going to be. So we didn't know if it was going to hit that number that was critical or not. So it was best to bring it to this committee, to the council to review it.
Other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of this resolution say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? adopted, thank you. Item 11, a resolution approving a provider contract for 2024 for the Health and Human Services Department.
This would be resolution number 24-48. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Health and Human Services Board to enter into the following 2024 contract with Tracy Benton of Richland Center for $90,000 to provide mental health therapy services for individuals being served by the Behavioral Health Services Unit. And be it further resolved that the Health and Human Services Board is hereby authorized to amend any of the above contracts by not more than 15%. And be it further resolved that the Director of Health and Human Services, Ms. Tricia Clements, is hereby authorized to sign the above contracts on behalf of Richland County in accordance with this resolution. And this resolution was offered by the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee on 8 July of 2024.
This resolution, do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Brewer, second by Ms. Glassberger. Go ahead.
I'm Brandy Christensen. I'm the Behavioral Health Manager over at HHS. And we're asking for approval to enter in a contract with Tracy Benton in the amount of $90,000 for the remainder of the year to provide mental health services in the behavioral health unit. We have not had a therapist since April, I believe. We've been actively recruiting. We had 2 interviews that just didn't really pan out. So we decided to look in the private industry to see if there'd be a contractor that would be willing to offer to do a contract with us. It's kind of essential that we have a therapist in our unit. As Sheriff Porter mentioned, we're not able to provide those mental health services, but the license that govern our clinic require us to have one, and without that therapist, we could lose our clinic license. So that means we wouldn't have our psychiatrist, our psychologist, our nurse practitioner. It would also impact our crisis license, so we wouldn't be able to provide crisis services, which then in result our emergency detentions are going to go up and our placements could go up. So our goal for the therapist is to have 32 billable hours a week, and then whatever is not covered by reimbursement would be grant funded or tax funded.
Questions? Mr. Harrell.
So you're no longer going to try to fill that position then?
We're still going to advertise, yes, to get a contracted person. But kind of, as stated earlier, the therapist position is contracted salaried a lot lower than what it is in surrounding counties, so it's been very hard.
Other questions? Mr. Reddish.
So here we have a contract, we can see it in numbers. So can this overlap with what we just did for the sheriff?
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but they will not be utilizing the Pine Counseling as long as we have a therapist that could go over and provide those services.
That's correct, yes. But can it? Instead of having one hourly rate that we don't know what the end's gonna be, tied into this contract, and then we have a budget number. That will end up changing later anyway, but at least we have a budget number.
I'm not exactly sure what you're saying.
I'm just saying, the one we just approved for $110 an hour, can that service be provided by this contract?
Yes.
If that works out, if, let's say, this person decided they no longer wanted to be in contract with us, then we need to have backup, am I correct?
Yes.
For the jail, so that's where that.
So when you say contract, is this like we guys sign in a yearly contract, or is it
Yeah,
just?
it'll be renewed every year.
So we'd be locked in for a year.
The remainder of the year, is it?
The remainder of the year.
Remainder of this year.
The remainder of this year.
And with the wage study, we may hopefully be able to hire someone in 2025.
I will say it's been difficult, not just in our county, but in every county, to provide mental health services and recruit.
I believe Sauk County's had an one of their open therapist position for almost a year now that they've been trying to recruit for.
Other questions from the board? There are no other questions. If all in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. Thank you. Next up is resolution approving the Department of Health and Human Services applying for and accepting a 2025 Section 5310 Vehicle and Operating Grant, number 12 on our agenda.
This will be resolution number 24-49. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Aging and Disability Resource Center of the Department of Health and Human Services. Apply for and accept a 2025 Section 5310 Vehicle and Operating Grant from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation in the amount of $31,825.04. And be it further resolved that the grant requires a 50% minimum county match, which can be either cash and or in-kind funding, which will be accomplished by Section 85.21 non-federal transportation funds, program revenues, indirect costs, supported by Health and Human Services Fund 56. And be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the grant funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant. And the Director of the Health and Human Services Department, Ms. Tricia Clements, is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents necessary to carry out this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Community and Health Services Standing Committee on 8 July of 2024.
Chance to hear the resolution. Do we have a motion? Motion by Supervisor Kramer, second by Supervisor Fleming. Any discussion?
I'm Roxanne Kluber-Tonsberger. I'm the manager for the ADRC at HHS. This is a grant that we apply for every year. And what this grant allows us to do is have public transportation for individuals who are aging and disabled and the general public to be able to have access for food security, medical appointments, and so forth. We have 5 different bus routes, actually 6 different bus routes go out into different communities, bring people back to Richland Center and to other destination points across our county and surrounding counties. And so this grant actually helps us be able to provide that. We do not use any tax levy in this grant. We are able to use 8521 funds and other funds as well, and in-kind match. So it's something that is not, we don't have any tax levy.
Questions from the board? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. All right, item number 13, a resolution approving the purchase of 15 desktop computers.
This would be resolution number 24-50. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the purchase of 15 desktop computers from JCOM Technologies in the amount of $14,385. And be it further resolved that funds to carry out this resolution shall come from the 2024 MIS CIP budget. Be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 9 July of 2024.
We have a motion on this resolution. Motion by Mr. Gill, second by Mr. Cosgrove. Any discussion? Barb?
This is just part of the budgeted computers that we have in the CIP budget for 2024. We would be purchasing them to start distributing to all departments. I have more in that budget. We've elected to just purchase the 15 that are necessary at this time in an effort to conserve some of the CIP money in case of unforeseen expenses.
People have questions? This is part of a plan to, on a rotating basis, keep our computers up to date, so.
And this is a 6-year rotation?
Yes, sir.
So these desktops are running 6 years. I think that's still a little out there, but good for you. Thank you for keeping them going for 6 years.
Other questions? Mr. Boyce?
So Barb, are you,
3 years is normal.
you're
3 to 4.
managing all the computers now, right?
Yes, sir.
So we don't have, I know you can get funding from other departments maybe, but that's how that's working. Everything's going through you now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions? There are none. All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
14, resolution approving the purchase of an air conditioner unit for the server room.
This would be resolution number 24-55. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to pay an invoice for Mort's Plumbing and Heating in the amount of $10,299 for the emergency purchase and installation of an air conditioning unit for the server room, and be it further resolved that funds to carry out this resolution shall come from the county's contingency fund, Fund 11, and be it further resolved this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 9 July of 2024.
The resolution, do we have a motion? Motion by Supervisor Glassbrenner, second by Mr. Severson. Discussion.
So this was an emergency purchase because the air conditioning unit went out in our main server room over in the HHS building. As you all know, that is not a good thing. We can't have that. And so we ordered a new one and limped it along with a window unit and did he wheel over a room unit too, right?
No, we
Or
had
van?
the door open and fans blowing.
We limped it along until the new unit got here and was installed, and so now we're sitting pretty, but that was not a good day when that went out.
Questions on this? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
Please record that Supervisor Cosgrove abstained. And the resolution is adopted. Thank you. Item 15, a resolution of support calling for state investment in mental health funding.
This would be resolution number 24-52. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors does hereby request that the state of Wisconsin in its 2025 to 27 state biannual budget provide state GPR funding to cover the full non-federal share of the MA, CSP, and crisis services, and be it further resolved that the Richland County Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to send a copy of this resolution to the Governor of the State of Wisconsin, Wisconsin State legislatures with a constituency within county and the Wisconsin Counties Association. This resolution was offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 9 July of 2024.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, okay.
All right, so you've heard the resolution. Motion by Supervisor Frank. Do we have a second? Second by Supervisor Kramer. Any discussion on this resolution, which came to us from WCA, correct?
It did, and in your packet, there was a 2-page document, a white paper explaining this funding and why it's important. As we all know, mental health funding is sorely lacking, and what it explains in this resolution is a lot of times counties wind up having to utilize tax levy to fund a disproportionate amount of this care for our residents because there's not adequate state funding. And so this is really advocating that the legislature take into account that disproportionate funding mechanism and really beef up their funding on their end to fund counties and fund our needs to encourage that funding so that we have the support that we need to provide the care that our constituents sorely need. And so that's on the platform. They want it to be on the platform in the 2025 to 2027 biennial budget. So that's what this is about, and that is why it is in front of you.
So it's basically just an unfunded mandate.
Pretty much, it's turned into that, yep.
It's been that way for years. The whole time I've been on this board.
Questions?
Before the board yet?
I'm sorry?
Have we looked this before?
Yes, it is open for discussion.
Okay. Well, if you read the list of whereas, it pretty much explains it.
Mhm.
Yep. Other questions?
Well, the state legislators are patting themselves on the back for giving us $2 million and increasing our share of shared revenue. We've still got pockets like this all over the place, so I'm
Very
glad
true.
to see this.
multiple counties adopting this resolution, sending it all in to their legislators, to the governor. Hopefully that gives us a shot at getting some action on that. Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Adopt the resolution. Item 16, a resolution relating to the replacement of the UW Campus West Bridge.
This would be resolution number 24-53. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to complete the project as defined and submit for reimbursement once all work is completed. Be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution was offered by the Executive and Finance Standing Committee on 9 July of 2024.
Is there a resolution? Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Cooey, second by Supervisor Glassbrenner. Discussion. This has been addressed already at the Campus Reconfiguration Committee, and then made its way to the Finance and Executive Standing Committee. We got bad bridges out there. Josh, do you want to give us the...
Sure. Yes, both bridges are in extremely bad shape. They do not qualify for any assistance with funding because of the stipulations of where those bridges are located. They are on the county highways bridge system, but the problem is they cannot get funding because they sit on a private drive. It has been tried for and failed twice, going through the normal chains to get assistance with funding and get them replaced sooner. The only other option was to have the city take over ownership of them, and we would assist with the cost, but that has also been not successful several times. So with everything up in the air about the campus, before any major work can ever be done out there, regardless of where venture architects come back with and what the recommendation is, those bridges have to be replaced to support that equipment. So utilizing people I keep basically on call for this, like MSA, pick up the phone, they started the engineering, we're up running all the costs for everything, and we're just asking for the reimbursement when it's done to get this one bridge replaced. By doing it in-house, we are saving a little bit of money with like DOT oversight, so on and so forth. And we are looking at all routes of how far up we can raise the bridge without interfering with Highway 14, because of one time the water went over the bridge. So everything's moving forward. We're planning on construction in 2025, and engineering and everything already has begun.
And so we'd have to do the same thing on the other bridge once this one's complete.
Correct. We chose to do one at a time just for the overall cost. It was easier to stomach $600,000 in one pop.
You did them both once you get there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
These new bridges will be replaced with culverts, correct?
No.
Oh.
These were to be...
I thought that was talked about.
Was talked about.
It was, so we started with hydraulic analysis where we looked at the possibility of changing out the culverts, but the DNR and the engineers felt it was not the proper alternative to do because of the water that could back up from the Pine River, as we've recently seen that will overwhelm those culverts. And plus with the DNR's initiative with trout and things of that nature to find the correct culverts to put into place. So it was recommended that we proceed forward with maybe, it's pretty much like a cookie cutter design bridge. It'll have a sidewalk going down the side, it'll have 12-foot drive lanes and things 5-6 foot tall parapet walls going down. It won't be anything aesthetically pretty, it'll just be a bridge with a sidewalk going down the side.
And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but the cost difference was not significant.
Well, oh no, you're talking between culverts
Surprisingly,
and
the culvert
bridges, you're
wasn't a
within
huge
$100,000.
Yeah,
So-
surprisingly.
The upkeep to culverts in high water situations, you're constantly going to be repairing riprap or losing them and washing them out or being plugged, so the bridge was a better alternative.
Mr. Frank.
Josh, can you help me understand, if the city took it over, then there's funding, but the county takes it over and there isn't?
Right, it would have to, being as though that property lies within the city would have to take ownership and turn it into city streets.
Be a city street.
Also
County
with-
property in the city.
Correct.
Got it.
What if they get a county road?
So that was already talked about and shot down relatively fast. Because to turn it into a county road, it would have to meet, I believe it's called Trans 205, which there would have to be a complete redo of the streets going through there to turn them into county highways, and just the cost of doing that alone. And then to finally have state review, and maybe they would approve it, maybe they would not. It would be a lot of money spent for maybe no gain.
So if you're wondering where some of that $2 million might go that we're going to be getting.
It's gone.
We went down
I have spent a lot of hours on this, went down every avenue for looking for anything we could do with these that would save money. This is the best alternative that we can come up with.
And again, if we don't fix it, we can't even bring big trucks in there to do anything with the property, so. Other questions or?
We could take the bridge out.
You, conceivably, you could, and then if you took both of them out, there would be no access to the property.
You can go off High Drive or whatever and build a road from that.
Yeah, that might not be any cheaper.
I'm not saying it'd be any cheaper, but you could.
Mr. Reddish.
Well, I brought it up before. I just realized when you mentioned it's just a one-lane bridge, that we explored the option of making it a two-lane. So that if we wanted to make a frontage road to High Drive, we just have one bridge.
It's already a two-lane
It
bridge.
is.
It's being designed as a two-lane
I thought
bridge,
you
12-foot
said
lanes.
Good.
That
You
could
could
be a
do that,
consideration
but
in the
I would
future.
also recommend if you're going to build a road, you'd have to look at the grounds there, so you'd have to look at putting a road clear up by Simons to avoid any floodwaters. because That, and then
You want it towards the back end?
yeah, you're typically, to build a brand new road, you're gonna be probably in today's money, 1.5 million per mile. You divide that out, you're gonna be 500,000-600,000 by the time you actually build a sustainable road.
Which is another bridge.
Right.
Mr. Severs.
So to understand, we explored going with the city to help out, and we would be, most of the cost. But the city at the time, didn't own Hive Drive, and now they own Hive Drive and have their own bridge. So just kind of want to make that known that they're willing to work with one other entity and not us.
Well, there've been multiple considerations over the years trying to look at
Correct.
this, so.
And the city
It's
still
not
takes
a
the same
recent
standpoint as they did back then.
I would,
Mr. Brew.
I would say this, that the bridges are only one example of deferred or non-existent maintenance out at the campus. And that's on us, but we didn't have the money or the resources to do it the right way. So it's now come home to roost.
It's probably fair to say, Marty, we've known that the bridges are deficient for as long as you and I have been on the board, right?
You don't want to walk under them because a piece of concrete could fall on your head.
Any other questions? All right, so we have before us the resolution to replace the bridge. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Josh. Right, and item 17, a resolution to approve donations to Simons Recreation Complex.
This would be resolution number 24-54. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors, that approval to accept the above donations, and you can see them listed there. I don't think you want me to read the whole list.
No, go ahead.
To accept the above donations from the Simons Foundation is granted. Be it further resolved that this resolution is effective upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Simons Recreation Complex Natatorium Board on 8 July 2024.
For the resolution, do we have a motion? Motion by Cooey, second by Fleming on this resolution. Discussion. Receiving donations is better than spending money on a bridge.
It is, as you can see. Mike, do you want to speak to these?
I can answer any questions if you want, but otherwise I can introduce myself. I'm Mike Hardy, the director at Simons. I know a few of you around here, but I didn't meet all of you yet. I want to thank the foundation, Ellens is here from the foundation, and really I've been here since April. And since before I learned how to use my keys to get in the office, they've been bugging me about spending their money. So, and Al was really, especially on the side fit, I know that was in your packet, the side fit that's up there on the screen. That's an inclusive piece of equipment that Al was really working on actually before I started, and he did the grant work for it, raised all the money for it, and this is an inclusive piece in a direction that we're trying to go at Simons, where we're going to be more inclusive in the future for more members of the community to be able to access our equipment. So some special thanks to Al on that. And they obviously half of the 50% the grant, and they did the other 50% donation. So there's no cost to the county, but we're able to utilize this to get more memberships and to get more inclusive for our community support as well. So don't know if you've got anything on that.
Yeah, just to add what Mike said, the Simons Recreation Complex Foundation applied for a 50/50 matching grant from the Joan Woodman Horton McCollum Foundation. We got $3,000 from them, we're kicking in the other $3,062. I think the total cost is $6,062. That's gonna get us that machine that's up on the screen right now. You know, Mike pointed out that it's inclusive. There's one of the key, really cool features about that piece of equipment is that the chair that's there, that can be rolled out of the way, so someone with a wheelchair can roll in there and use the machine. So we're trying to be more inclusive, be more welcoming, and it's kind of a state-of-the-art machine. I don't think there's any other ones like it in the area. There's some other attachments that we can get that we're going to kind of monitor the usage of it. There's like a platform that can go around the base to assist wheelchairs going up there. There's special gloves that can be purchased, so if someone through some sort of accident or a stroke or whatever doesn't have full use of their hands, they can literally be strapped right to the machine. There's a special boot that will fix their leg to the machine, so they have to be there with a therapist or someone helping them get hooked up. But it's a real low resistance machine. You know, any exercise for someone is better than none. You know, even a person who's in a wheelchair needs cardiovascular exercise, and this can help achieve that. So that's what the foundation is trying to push for, and this machine will help achieve that. And we'll just kind of monitor the usage. If we need to get more, if it gets used heavily, we'll try and do that. And we're hoping to partner with Richland Hospital, so if someone has completed their course of therapy there, then maybe they'll come to Simons.
Question, Mr. Frank?
Yeah, the solar inverter on there, is that a replacement for existing equipment or
Yes,
something?
it's a replacement. We were told that sometime in the last year, the inverter was broken, so the solar panels haven't worked out there for at least a year. So that's, that $3,000 cost is a replacement, which is also coming out of the foundation's money, but that will come with a 10-year warranty, and as well it will allow these solar panels to work again, so they'll save electric costs for us down the road.
Thank you.
Other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thanks, and thank you to the foundation very much.
Thank you.
All right, we've already dealt with items 18 through 22, so that brings us to item 23, which is correspondence. Do we have it?
I have not received any.
I would just note that you should be watching your emails because you will likely receive an invitation soon as they look for help to work the gates at the Richland County Fair, which will be coming up before we know it. Mr. Wendell.
Mr. Chair, so if you've received an email from me in the last month, you've probably noticed the gigantic big red disclaimer that says that I will be on vacation next week. I bring this up not to brag, but it kind of touches on the next agenda item for today as well. It occurs to me that the firm's contract with the county will expire mid next week. It's not a problem for us to expand under current terms until we can have that discussion. But I wanted to make it known that if someone calls me on the 23rd and I don't pick up, it's not because I'm quitting or we've terminated the contract. I will simply be, as is my annual tradition, at the World Board Gaming Championships. Part of the reason you hired us, there's still a whole attorney and a half, even if I'm not around. So just contact my office, and depending on reception, they can get a hold of me in an emergency situation. But so far as I'm aware, everything that we've got going on will be pulled for a week without me, and then we'll be back to it.
Thank you. So, future agenda items. Anything we need to make sure we have on our next meeting agenda? That brings us to item 25, and since Supervisor Manning isn't here, motion by Supervisor Fleming to adjourn. Do we have a second? I believe Ken just seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.